Hello guys, in this video we're going to look at how you can divide or how you can distribute a large JSON into smaller different chunks and then save those chunks into their individual JSON user fields. Now we for the purpose of this video we are going to use a feature called data pre-processing, which is available in the external request node as well as in the webhooks. Now why is this feature useful? A lot of the times when you make API calls, they return a lot of data. Most of the times the data you cannot save them into a single individual JSON user field. The reason for that is in UChat we have a platform limit of 20,000 characters. So each individual JSON cannot have more than 25,000 characters. But a lot of these platforms, they send you a lot of data and you cannot really save them into a JSON file. So even when you try to save the data, nothing is saved and you're left with an empty JSON. Let's see why this is an issue. Now if you look at the API call I have right now, it returns the menu of a restaurant. So all the menu items are returned in this API call. If I see and observe the data that is being returned, I have a lot of data that is coming back. I have the dish name, the dish ID, the price, and even when you go into the add-ons, I have a lot of options as well. So I will never be able to save this whole data into one single JSON. And even if I try to collapse this, I can see that it has 270 items. So if one dish has a lot of data, imagine how much 270 items would have. Now what to do with this? Now there are majorly two ways to solve this issue. The first is you can only keep the data that is relevant to you, and then you can ignore the rest of the data. So for example, I can keep the dish ID, I can keep the dish name and the price, and then I can ignore the rest of the data. But this is not ideal. A lot of the times API return data that is user specific, and you would like to save all of this data somewhere. Now we are going to learn how you can do that. Enable the data pre-processing feature at the top. I have some JavaScript written here, and don't worry, this code will be provided to you in the description. In the first line of code, I have defined a constant called chunks, which is an array. And what we'll do is after dividing the JSON into different chunks, we are going to save all the data into this array and then we are going to return it. In the second line, I have defined a variable called chunk size. In this case, it's 50. So what it will do is it will distribute the large JSON into items of 50. For your use case, you can set it up to 40, to 20, to 30, up to 100, 200, whatever is your use case, you can save it as per your use case. And then I'm running a for loop, which basically runs across the length of the payload that we receive and then divides it into chunk sizes that you have already defined and then push them into the array that we have defined and then we return return that array. One thing to notice here is as compared to a JavaScript node where you have to parse a JSON in external request or in webhook, you don't really have to parse a JSON, it's already parsed. You just have to use the word called payload. This payload is you can say a system variable where everything is mapped. So you have to use payload.length or payload dot slice, whatever that is, right? So we are going to use the word payload. And then don't worry about the code will be provided to you. Now let's run this API call and see what we get. It's going to take some time because it's a fairly large API call. So let's wait a bit. All right. So from the data that you have you don't see a lot of changes. But if I try to collapse this, I can see that I have a chunk now of 50 items. If I keep collapsing all these data points, I can now see that I have created 5 different chunks of 50 items. each, and the remaining are in the last JSON. So now instead of having one big JSON, I have 6 7 different JSONs, which now I can save in their respective fields. So this I can save in, let's say, set A. This can be saved in menu set B, menu set C, and so on. And now I will not run into the 20,000 character limit issue because all of these individual JSONs are less than 20,000 character limit. And so now you can save all the data you have inside coming from the API and do not run into issues. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned something good and I hope it helps you improve your flows. Have a good day. Thank you.